thank you for coming out today, and I also think we need to do a little bit of update to our democracy. Actually, the structure I don't think is too much off, but the people that are in the lead, so-called, are not respecting the structure as it was meant to be operating. They blatantly perform actions that are conflicts of interest, right? You know, clear to us. As well, the City Hall meeting itself is not operated under the principles of democracy that we've established. The mayor chairs the meeting and discusses the matters and votes on it. That's right there. That's a major hindrance to democracy. It's a major hindrance to having decision-making that respects our interests. And party politics is another thing. So you have a mayor coming in and saying, okay, give me your vote, now get out of the way. I have a deal to get through here before the 4 years is up. And that's all they're concerned with. It's their beholding obligations to their backers, to their contributors, or to their parties, or whatever. And that's something we can do something about simply by canvassing amongst the contenders and finding out which ones are independent, which ones are sincere, looking at their backgrounds. Are they capable of shaking things up and making it run in a more respectful way, reasonable way, fair way? Fairness is easily determined. What's in the public interest is easily determined. That shouldn't be a difficult task, but it seems to be an impossible task at the moment. People are not satisfied with the way things are. They're not satisfied with the way their tax dollars are being spent. My father used to say a number of years ago, if they did as well with their half of his money as he did, we'd be all right. But he wasn't satisfied then, and I'm still not satisfied now that we're getting our bang for our buck. If you look at things like the LRT with the 2 tunnels, there's something really not happening democratically there, because we were not consulted properly. They did not look at all the reasonable options. We should have been told amongst the various options what the benefits and the risks and so on. And in the end, we should be comfortable that the money being spent is being spent in the most effective way, the most reasonable way, and the most fair way. But that doesn't seem to happen. They don't want to talk about why they're not wanting to use the tunnel that's already there. They just don't want to talk about it. They don't want to talk about why they haven't studied the feasibility of putting the O train across the Alexandra Bridge in an empty train lane that was, you know, obviously designed to hold the train. So I don't see any reason. And if there were reasons, I would have known them by now, because I've asked all the officials, like the city officials, and I've asked the so-called front runners last time and this time, and no reasonable answer is offered. Why it's not even being studied. It's not even being studied. It's not even part of the option evaluation for this LRT deal. And as well, they haven't studied the feasibility of opening up that Byron right-of-way that goes from roughly LeBreton Flats to Britannia. Why? No reason given why that wasn't considered in the overall evaluation of what would be the best bang for the buck. Anyways, there's many other examples. Time prohibits a full discussion, but one of the ones that really stands out, if anybody knows anything about the boat launch project they brought in a couple of years ago, absolutely no benefit to anybody except 174 millionaires or billionaires that had 50-foot pontoon boats. We paid for 5 boat launches so that these poor dears wouldn't have to interrupt their trip up the Ottawa River. It doesn't take small boats, only these big 50-foot pontoon boats that put 50 gallons of gas in the water per hour. One of them they put in a lagoon. Everybody in the entire community, everybody with no exceptions, said they didn't want it, they got it. Anyway, it cost $2.2 million. We paid for it. It's not even self-supporting. We're subsidizing it. We're subsidizing millionaires and billionaires, like in our face. Like that was done in corporate services meeting. Shirelli chaired it, and it's still going on. It got up and running. There was nobody in the audience that was supporting it. Nobody. City staff was the one that presented it, and she didn't say who she was presenting. It was Susan Jones. Didn't say who she was presenting it on behalf of, just presented it. So plenty of evidence that the system is not working in a democratic way. It's not considering the public interest. That's not even on the table. In fact, we as a government, at actually all three levels of government, also fund lobby groups for large multinational corporations. And what they're doing is they're lobbying the city. So if they're lobbying, that must mean there's some sort of conflicting interest. Guess whose interest they're lobbying against? Ours. Like that would be environmental interests or interests of the existing businesses, you know, if they want to do something that conflicts with something that's going on. And we're paying for that. And that's through what is it called? The Ottawa Centre for Research and Innovation, and the other is the BIA. We collect a levy for this group that has a very strong presence with staff and with council. And as well, this Centre for Research, we pay, I believe it's 20% of their funding. And if you look on their website, 62 member organizations, most of which are large multinational corporations. And their membership statement is they lobby on behalf of large corporations and small and medium technological companies. So your small and medium local company isn't even there, but we're paying them so that they'll have staff time come in here and manipulate what happens in here against us. This is where the anti-environment policies come in, and various other, even stuff like that was happening with homeless people. The BIA had this idea that our streets needed to be completely swept in order to have them better facilitate business. So that's why they do things like eliminate the benches to sit on, or the planters on Rideau Street. Even they want to get rid of the bus shelters because they think that's where people will congregate, and they don't want people congregating in public. That's not their idea of public space. Their idea of public space is the traffic avenue to get to their businesses. So, you know, and this presence is constant, and it's devastating. It's devastating to not just to the poor, but it's devastating to all of us if we live in a culture that doesn't want us to congregate. Because I've been arrested here for protesting about the elimination of street vending. I was arrested and put in jail on Canada Day, and I wasn't doing anything illegal or disruptive or anything. Right on that cement right there, I was sitting on a chair, but they didn't want that issue to gain any notice, so they banned me from City Hall for 2 months and charged me with mischief and trespassing, and which didn't fly, and I made a complaint and I won the complaint, but in the meantime they did effectively keep that issue from being raised to the public. So anyway, and that's certainly not in anybody's interest for us not to be able to buy jewelry or flowers or artwork or listen to buskers or whatever on the street. Like, whose interest? That's not in the interest of the citizen of Ottawa or you know, anybody for that matter, except for the large multinational corporation that doesn't want to see any sort of local stuff going on, any street level or even entry level kind of businesses going on, because that, I guess that cuts into their action or something. I don't know what the whole concept is. But anyways, those are my main concerns. Is the process itself is not operating in the public interest. It can easily, very little change except a change in attitude. So the people that you choose to put in there need to have the right attitude. And they need to be resistant to that kind of negative pressure to make decisions in the interest of wherever, like any interest other than the public interest. Because this is our city, this is our tax dollar, This is our government. This is our building. It's all of ours, and we should act as though it is, and reclaim it, and reclaim the way it operates. And I guess I could go on because there's a lot of issues going on at one time, but the structure and the way the structure operates is my main concern. And I think that what citizens can do to try and turn that around is ask the candidates, do you accept donations from developers, corporations, or unions? And if so, go to the next one. Find one that doesn't and start there, and then ask them what their view of how things should operate, and look to see if they have the strength and the conviction and the passion to turn things back to a more conducive way of doing business. And that can happen easily. Just a little bit of elbow grease. So our next speaker is Dr. Cesar Bello, and well, I don't know.